Hello, my name is Tshidi Madia, Associate Editor for Politics at Eyewitness News. So we finally got our cabinet reshuffle. Was it the overhaul of government that we expected, that President Cyril Ramaphosa hinted towards at his State of the Nation address? No. In his own words yesterday, he said, he filled vacancies in essence. So he did not necessarily have an overhaul, but boy, did he make some changes. Let me tell you my observations. First of all, let's speak about the negative, right? So the president took too long with this. We keep saying he's a process man, he over-consults, but I don't think it was necessary for him to have taken this much time. I mean, from the time he was re-elected in December 2022 in the NC, we all knew that this moment was coming. I think he had the whole of December to work towards it. He had the State of the Nation address where he spoke about the Minister of Electricity. He had that week to do something. Yet the week straight after the budget speech was delivered by Kondongwana to do something. But again, the president takes his time, and what that did is it created room for lots of speculation and questions. His actions resulted in us questioning whether or not this is a man who wants to lead us, because there's this constant feeling that a billionaire doesn't need to be a president. He's a president because maybe he wants to. So, we should feel so lucky. He wants to care for us. And I think he shouldn't have created that room. He creates it quite often. It's not the first time. But I think he could have managed that better. And then the communication around this, oh my gosh, he's got the flu. No, he doesn't. That was so clumsy. So upticks for me were a big issue in the lead up to this, including the fact that you told 7 o'clock, 8:30, 8 o'clock, then 8, it's even that managing of the time when you're going to address the nation leaves us questioning whether or not you take us seriously enough, as the nation that you serve at the behest of. So that for me is a big issue. Then there's the issue of the state capture ministers. President Cyril Ramaphosa has retained Gwede Mantashe, Zizi Kotwa, as well as David Mahlobo. Now, some people wanted Gwede Mantashe out for completely different reasons. The issue of energy, Eskom, the back and forth between him and the Department of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan. Some people would have rather not seen Gwede remaining there. But I'll deal with the issue of Gwede again a little bit later. But the fact that all three who are implicated in state capture leaves me questioning the seriousness and the commitment that the president has towards that State Capture Commission report. It has recommendations. And these are people who are implicated. Think about David Mahlobo. The president was asked, why did you appoint him in 2018? And he spoke about how he is waiting for processes. And even at some point waiting for the commission itself to be concluded. Well, it's concluded. That has been put to bed. But David Mahlobo continues serving in the president's cabinet. I heard somebody saying you'd rather have an enemy, or potential enemy rather, working with you than away from you, a la Arthur Fraser. Because you must remember, David Mahlobo, once upon a time, was also part of the intelligence network. So people saying, hey, people who dealt with spooks, you rather keep them close than outside. Again, I don't know if that's what I want from my president, because that speaks to his personal interests, not necessarily national interests, right? And then the other issue that I think I absolutely had with the reshuffle is some of the elder people who still remain in his cabinet. I do, though, take it, and I understand that we are just months away from an election, around about a year. So you don't want a complete overhaul. So yes, he's kept particular people. Now the interesting tidbits, the politics around it. I think what we're seeing with this cabinet reshuffle is the rise of the women and the fall of the president's men. A lot of people in their analysis believe that the cabal, the Chrisani cabal, the lieutenants of the president came off happily with this cabinet reshuffle. I can assure you they're not happy. I think, look at Mondli Gungubela's been moved from the presidency to communications. I think that's the biggest demotion, if anything. I said to you last time around that Mondli Gungubela might be moved. And what it was Mondli Gungubela's handling of the renewal campaign in the ANC. So ANC politics were a factor in how Mondli's colleagues and how the president saw Mondli, from what I understood. Then you'd also hear about Mondli's role in government itself. Mondli was responsible for 3 key components in government: the State Security Agency, government communications. He was the mouthpiece of government. And also, he was the person responsible for whipping ministers into shape. Some would speak about how all 3 of these components were not nearly where they needed to be on his watch, that he hadn't focused per se on the job as opposed to talking about the job. So I'm not surprised at all. And I think that's the biggest emotion, because he'd risen to really being a key player in that cabal, a key player in the president's circle. And what you're watching is that coming undone. So it also speaks to the cracks, ultimately, what I'm talking about. So Gwede Mantashe, let me speak about Gwede Mantashe. So Gwede Mantashe remains there. And Gwede Mantashe, when asked about the electricity minister, because the appointment of an electricity minister is a vote of no confidence against Gwede Mantashe and Pravin Gordhan, who've often clashed in public about the way forward around this particular crisis. Gwede Mantashe asked about the electricity minister, defined him as a project manager who will have no powers. In direct response to Gwede Mantashe, the president said he'd give the electricity minister powers. So I think he'll take them from those particular departments. I don't believe Cyril Ramaphosa, our new electricity minister, is necessarily someone that the so-called inner circle, the cabal, would have wanted. I think he's a person of his own. Some claim there's fear that he's too close to the now deputy president, Paul Mashatile. But I also think it speaks to a disruption of how that circle functioned, and that's why they wouldn't want to. Mind you, I think Cyril Ramaphosa is one of the good stories of this cabinet reshuffle. I think he's got a track record that's quite impressive. Yes, I say this understanding that there was the Peu Capital scandal over the prepaid meters in Tshwane, but I still say his track record, when you look at the fruit and veg market and you look at what he did in Limpopo, is quite impressive. And then I want to now speak about the women, which is my favorite part, really, of this cabinet reshuffle. Thembi Nkadimeng, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, and Marupini Ramokgopa. The fall of the president's men and the rise of these women. These are three women who are now holding key positions. Thembi Nkadimeng is going to COCTA at a time where you've got two states of disasters at play. Khumbudzo Ntshavheni goes from communications back to the presidency. And you might think she's young, and you might think she's a political, not a big wig, but Khumbudzo Ntshavheni had the audacity to take on Minister Mosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula during 2021 to call her out for the way she behaved. So I think she was up for the task of whipping the ministers into shape. And you also have Marupini Ramokgopa, one of the country's youngest mayors at the time. She also has a glowing CV. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Marupini has said, don't judge Marupini Ramokgopa. Respect the office that I occupy, because that's what you need to answer to. She will be in charge of monitoring and evaluation in the presidency. So these three women, for me, are the interesting appointments. They'll be interesting to look out for, what their political trajectories will be, their careers. I'm very excited about these three. Yes, you want to hear about NDZ. Now, I know you want to hear about Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. NDZ is an important point to make, because out of all the ministers who were vocal critics of the president, she's the only one who's made the cut. And you ask yourself why. I believe KwaZulu-Natal matches that much, right? You've got Sitla Zigalala there now, is a minister. Senzo Nkunu has been retained. Becky Cele is there. But it's also important not to upset KZN, because the elections are around the corner. So a lot of these considerations that you see had to take in, unfortunately, ANC internal dynamics, the president's own political future or his own political interests, that would also take into consideration what needs to happen in 2024 for the governing party. And obviously, as I always say, our interest, which should have been top of those considerations. So it's a mangalamus. You need to mix up a lot of things to come up with what he delivered with his cabinet reshuffle. With Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, she's moved from culture to women, youth and persons with disabilities. Now, in a country like ours, with the struggles that we have, youth unemployment, gender-based violence, you would think that this is a crucial ministry, but it hasn't been treated that way. It's been treated as a dumbing down. And you saw it with Nkwana Maita Mashaba, and I told you she wouldn't survive, because what the hell was she doing in that ministry, who only pops up in August and maybe at the end of the year? So it hasn't been treated, I think, with the urgency and the passion that is required to address issues that we have in the country. So when they take her there, you best believe that is a demotion. But again, I don't think it's the biggest one in the country. That happened to Mondli Gungubele. So Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has been retained for political reasons. What I question is why she said yes. You know, how in her 70s is she feeling fit for purpose to serve a youthful nation? I don't know. But what I'm excited about is to see what the energy or electricity minister, Ramokgopa, does in the coming weeks. Hopefully he gets it right. We deserve for them to get it right.